Trump is panicking as Iran has rejected his ceasefire offer. Donald Trump apparently only prepared for a 4 to 5 day war against Iran, and he assumed that if the United States were to kill the Ayatollah Khomeini, that Iran would immediately want a ceasefire and that Donald Trump would be able to declare a victory and that war would not spread throughout the region. Donald Trump was warned that his personal views that that's what would take place were wrong, and he was indeed wrong. Hat tip to Ynet. They were the first to report, and they're based out of Israel, that Donald Trump is now begging Iran for a ceasefire, and Iran immediately rejected it and said when there will not be a ceasefire will be on our terms. And now one of the major issues the United States is facing is, will we be running out of munitions? Do we have the capabilities for a long-term war if this drags out for many, many months? And in addition, we've learned some horrific news this morning that a number of our soldiers, a number of U.S. service members have indeed been killed in action during the war already. We've learned that there have been, so far, 3 U.S. service members killed in action. 5 have been seriously wounded so far during Operation Epic Fury, is what the Trump regime is calling it. We're referring to it at the Midas Touch Network as Operation Epstein Fury, or the Jeffrey Epstein War. The U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, announced the deaths of these 3 U.S. service members. 5 are seriously wounded. We're following that. We're expecting, sadly, the number of deaths to increase. These casualties, as Open Source Intelligence Defender also notes, these casualties are likely the result of Iranian ballistic missiles and one-way attack drones that have been striking U.S. bases in Bahrain, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates, with some bases suffering much more serious damage than had been previously reported or announced by CENTCOM. Indeed, our government is giving false information saying that the attacks have not been serious against our bases, only for us to learn later that they are indeed very, very serious. And now our service members have been killed, and Donald Trump has blood on his hands, and this whole regime in the United States has blood on their hands. Iranian's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, he is alive, and he's stating this morning on state-run television that the Interim Leadership Council is now operational and has assumed constitutional control of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Pezeshkian adds that we will continue the path of the leader with strength. Our armed forces are crushing the bases of enemies. No sign by Iran that they will be stopping their retaliatory actions against U.S. bases and U.S. interests within the Middle East anytime soon.
We did World War I and we did World War II. Bitch, we'll do this shit again. Iran, we ain't scared of you. No cap. Where the fuck do y'all stay? We ain't never fuck Iran. Bitch, we did World War I and we did World War II. Bitch, we'll do this shit again. Iran, we ain't scared of you. No cap. Where the fuck do y'all stay? We ain't never heard of you. We send troops at your door. Bitch, you know we purging you.
Again. How you gonna be, Jack?
War II, bitch, we'll do this shit again. Iran, we ain't scared of you. No cap. Where the fuck do y'all stay? We ain't never fuck Iran. Bitch, we did World War I and we did World War II. Bitch, we'll do this shit again. Iran, we ain't scared of you. No cap. Where the fuck do y'all stay? We ain't never heard of you. We send troops at your door. Bitch, you know we purging you.
Again. How you gonna be, Jack? How you gonna be, Jack?
All praise to the Most High, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakak Wadash, and double honor to our apostles, elders, bishops here, great millstones for teaching his truth that's going all around the earth. And shalom to the hopeful elect out there. It's your brother Atazawan from the Great Millstone in St. Louis. And we're going to do a real short lesson this evening based on a clip I have, all right, that we watched. All right, one of somewhat of a news report, and then the other of the madness and folly of the Jake woman in the military, okay, taking everything for granted, right? One, and everything is about trying to have a good time with the black woman, so-called black woman. You see, even in a time as serious as this, joking around, and filled with folly. All right? And there's going to come a time when you're going to find that there are things that ain't so funny. You see? I don't know where that clip came from. And let me say this also, as far as the little news report, I can neither confirm nor deny anything reported in that. Like I said, it's just a simple news report that was out there. And, we can't say for certain that everything that we're hearing in the news right now is 100% fact, right? But, we'll try to keep up with things and report on it as best we can. All right, but in the grand scheme of things, Yahweh Shem Yahushai is doing exactly what's foretold and prophesied in the scriptures, and that there will be a day, right, where World War III will be exactly that. Whether this is the beginning of it, we have to wait and see. Whether it escalates, all right, in the coming days or weeks, we'll see, okay? But I really want to address the attitude and the lack of concern that you see with really, it's a microcosm of what this military is like now. You got a lot of people in there, especially the woman, right? The Jake woman who joined the military because, they thought that it would be an easy way to make money, right? They'll be away from home where they can cut up and act a fool, okay, and be childlike, you see, and showing that they have no discipline at all right? And that kind of attitude, it'll get you done in, okay, real quick. Because when the sirens really go off and things really start flying around the top of your head, the last thing you're going to be thinking about is spinning around in a circle, acting like you don't know what you're doing while you have a loaded weapon in your hand, okay? Anyway, the scriptures speak about the women of Israel, who are just filled with fun and games and folly, all right? So we'll get to it right here in Isaiah 32:9 says, "Rise up, ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters. Give ear unto my speech. Many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless women, for the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come." Right? Tremble, ye women that are at ease. Be troubled, ye careless ones. Strip you and make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins. Right? Because there's going to come a time when this thing really gets serious. Okay? You them women may find themselves in a situation where nobody's coming to help you. Okay? They may find themselves where they are actually literally stripped, before something happens to them. Okay? They may find themselves where they will be in terrible trouble. Okay? With nobody to come and rescue them. Of course, we apply this to, the Jake woman, because of her careless life here in Babylon the Great. And you can see that they've carried that same mentality and attitude into the military, okay? Where they too busy trying to be cute, There's a time and place for everything. But right now, it's not the time and place for that, right? So we see that the attitude of the Jake woman has not changed, even in the face of potential danger. You see? Now, the military is much different than it was almost 40 years ago. Like, when I was in, okay? And now you have more women that are in the military. Why? Because they know that it's an easy catch. It's, their professions that they chose when they went to college and so on, if they went. The military has opened up a lot of positions for women. You see? Now, this here is Salakia. like an AI overview, and it tells us right here, because the question I asked was what is the percentage of women in the military today, right? And it says as of 2023, Department of Defense demographics report women can constitute approximately 17.7% of all active duty military personnel, a slight increase from 17.5 in 2022. Women currently make up about 16% of enlisted members and 19% of commissioned officers, with the Air Force having the highest percentage of female officers at 24.1%, right? And that's because the Air Force is more lax, okay? So, again, the Jake woman is always looking for comfortability, you see? And but now things are different, okay? Because when it comes time to really get out there, they're going to be in a panic, rest assured, all right? And for one, women shouldn't even be in war, right? That's not even a place for you Jake women to be, okay? But here, anyway, it gives you a breakdown of the branches. It says Air Force 24.1, Navy 21.3, Army 19.1, Marines 10.2, right? It goes on to say, while the percentage of women has grown from under 10% in 1980 to over 17% in 2023, they remain underrepresented compared to their share of the general population, with the highest concentration in administration and healthcare roles, right? Each branch has a corps or a medical corps position, right? So there's where you find the majority of your female commissioned officers are nurses, all right? Some are therapists, some are doctors, but mostly in the nursing corps or the medical corps, all right, is where you'll find a lot of these women. You don't find that many of them in engineering, or what's the other one? Infantry, and so on, right? Because they look for them cushion positions in the military, because they really they're not built for war, to be honest, all right? And we know that. But like I said, the Jake woman, she get a little degree, and so now she gonna think she's tough and gonna go into the military, and it's a total different ball game when you're under that pressure, all right? So we get on to the next scripture here. This is Luke chapter 6, and this is the section known as the Beatitudes, where you have contrasting observation, if you will, all right? Luke 6:25, it says, woe unto you that are full, for ye shall hunger, right? So you got one version, and then you got a different version, all right? What's going to happen? If you got full, you got empty. Or if you got full, you got hungry, right? And so on. Woe unto you that laugh now, right? Because that's what you see them doing, laughing, cutting up in front of the camera, to some whack-ass little rap verse, okay? And what's going to happen next? For ye shall mourn and weep, right? That's going to come next. You're doing your laughing and you're playing now, all right? But when things get real serious and they tell you, no, you can't go home, okay, and they ship your ass off over there, you ain't coming back, all right? So you get your laughing in now, but you'll weep and mourn later, okay? Book of Joel, and we go over here to chapter 3, and let's jump in right there, verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up, right? So if you just think about it in a natural sense, are any of these other nations, do they have brigades of women to fight their wars, to be out there in the cold of the desert, right? These men are prepared from these other nations to fight. And here you go, dancing and singing, okay? In which, you don't propose that there's going to be it's going to be much of a foot war, like troops on foot fighting each other. This is going to be a different thing altogether, but it's just the mere fact that you have 1 in every 4 soldiers is a female, okay? Because I think it said 24.1%, right? Pretty close to just being 1 of every 4 soldiers. You see? That's a weak link, no matter how you cut it. All right, going on to verse 10, it says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong, right? These other nations have put a lot of money into their defense, right? Instead of, agriculture, but they put a lot of money behind their defense systems. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and our people now, 2/3 of them are a bunch of heathens, okay? They're acting like a bunch of heathens. All right? And gather yourselves together round about, thither cause the mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, right? That Yahweh Shaphat, right? Which is the Lord's judgment, okay? For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about, right? And you got other scriptures that I believe is Ezekiel 22 that talks about how the Lord will allow you to be melted. If I'm not mistaken, Lord's will, I'll try to remember to get that. Okay, but 2/3 of our people are heathens, and we've always said 2/3 is always a bigger number than 1/3. But of those 2/3, you're gonna have more women, right? Because women outnumber you. You see. You got all these women in the military now. So the military can't possibly be as strong as it would if it was all men. I'm talking about in terms of preparation. See, they think even sending women over there in administration, MOSs, all right, is what it's called. You're going to be in the line of fire as well. You see? Verse 13, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full. The fat overflow, for their wickedness is great. Okay, multitudes, verse 14, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. Okay, and that's good enough, but this has gone into all the nations being brought into that part of the world, right, where the Lord is going to judge them, okay, for World War III. Zechariah, might as well get it, right? 13:8, and it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, Yahweh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, right? Those of our people who are acting like heathens, and those who are heathens and separated from Yahweh Hashem Yahushai because you're still in the world, right? You're going to be counted as heathens, you see? That'll be brought down, I'm talking about those in the military. Those in the military, you're going to be brought to the valley of decision. Verse 9, and I will bring the third part through the fire, and I will refine them as silver is refined, and I will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people. And they shall say, the Lord, how about Shem Yahushua is my power, right? The 1/3, all right, be tried in the fire as well. For all the adversities and trials we'll go through, but the Lord will be with us. But as far as you 2/3, you're going to be cut off, all right? Especially for those who are in uniform. And when this thing really heats up, however and whenever the Lord will actually do it, okay, and you're in uniform, you're going to be in a world of trouble, all right? I was making a point earlier about women in war, right? As men, as we read, it said, wake up the mighty men. It didn't say women. It said mighty men. Men go to war, okay? But Babylon the Great is so fucked up, okay, that you got women in the military, all right? This is 1 Timothy 5:3. We just jump it right there. It says, honor widows that are widows indeed, but if any widow have children or nephews, let them learn first to show piety at home and to requite their parents, for that is good and acceptable before the Most High. Now she that is a widow indeed and desolate trusteth in the Most High and continueth in supplication and prayer night and day. But she that liveth in pleasure is dead while she liveth. And that's what we see in that short little piece, that short clip, with these young women in uniform, joking around, playing around, thinking it's funny. Okay? Living in pleasure, all in the camera. They got their hair all slicked back, trying to be cute, all these types of different things. We've seen countless videos over the years, right, with the Jake woman in uniform. Okay? Right? But as it says in verse 6, it says, but she that liveth in pleasure is dead while she liveth. Okay? No understanding, no wisdom, okay, but just seeking to glorify themselves in how they look, what they wearing, so on and so forth. All right? But going on, it says in verse 8, but if any provide not for his own, especially of those of his own house, he had denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. Let not a widow be taken into the number under 60 years old, having been the wife of one man, well reported of for good works, if she have brought up children, if she have lodged strangers, if she have washed the saints' feet, if she have relieved the afflicted, if she have diligently followed every good work. Listen, but the young widows refuse, for when they had begun to wax wanton against Mashiach, they will marry, okay? Having damnation because they have cast off their first faith, and withal they learn to be idle, you see? And so you see a lot of these younger women. Now, of course, it's talking about widows, but you can apply it to younger women, all right? When they start feeling themselves, they're going to want to get out there and get loose, right? And be amongst other women that are just like them, okay? And have themselves in situations where, they can do whatever they want, right? Sort of like, gadding abroad, so to speak, okay? And with all they learn to be idle, right? And that's what they were doing, making a video, you spinning around in formation, looked like they were supposed to be in a formation, she's spinning around clowning, you idle, right? You don't have anything to do. And with all they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, and not only idle, but tattlers also and busybodies. And that's what you see. What you gonna do? She's spinning around. You see? Again, all in the camera. Okay? But tattlers also and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not. Verse 14 is the point. I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house, give none occasion of the adversary to speak reproachfully. You're supposed to be at home, woman. Okay? Guiding the house and raising children. That's where you're supposed to be. You ain't supposed to be wearing no uniform, getting ready to go to battle. Okay? You're in the wrong position. You see? This will be the last scripture here. This is Proverbs 14 and 18. The simple inherit folly, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. You see? So when you apply this to these women, especially what we saw in this little short clip, these women are simple and filled with folly, right? And if they had somebody that would guide them, that had knowledge, they wouldn't be there doing what they're doing. And subsequently live out the consequences of their decision to put on a uniform in a man's army. All right? So that's what's going to end up taking them out of here. All right? For all their fun and games. Okay, so pretty much that's it. Like I said, real short, quick lesson. I saw those 2 clips today and put them together and, decided to grab a few scriptures and put to it. Okay. Once again, we don't know for certain all the details about what's going on because the media lies. The mainstream media, especially here in Babylon the Great, always try to paint this rosy, benevolent picture of what they're doing to protect other people 5,000 miles away from here, but yet you don't do anything to help your own, right? So they always want to act like they're policing the world for the good. And we know there's something wretched and terrible that they've already got cooked up, right? But in any event, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is in control, okay? And so what will be, as it is prophesied when the Lord is ready for it, the said measure, right? For everything that goes on, okay? It was something else I said I wanted to get, Salakia. Oh, see if I can find it real quick. If I can't, we'll just have to let it go. Let me try this. I think that's where it is. Let's go up some. Ezekiel 22 and verse 19. Therefore thus saith the Lord, power, because ye are all become dross, behold, therefore I will gather you into the midst of Jerusalem, as they gather silver and brass and iron and lead and tin into the midst of the furnace to blow the fire upon it, to melt it, so will I gather you in mine anger and in my fury, and I will leave you there and melt you. Yea, I will gather you and blow upon you in the fire of my wrath, and ye shall be melted in the midst thereof. As silver is melted in the midst of the furnace, so shall ye be melted in the midst thereof, and ye shall know that I, the Lord, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, have poured out my fury upon you. Okay, so when it comes to these ICBMs being shot off, when it comes to war in general with just missiles, because it hasn't reached nuclear stage, right? These are just bombs being dropped, missiles being shot. It hasn't gotten to a nuclear level yet, right? But we'll see how long it takes to get there, all right? But it's, for us, in the truth, it's good news, all right? However, we're not overly excited about it. We'll just see how everything develops, all right? Because everything is on the Lord's timetable, okay? So that, we'll leave it right there, all right? Giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. Shalom.